Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Women's Rugby World Cup. This one's Scotland taking on Fiji in what is a must-win game for the Flying Fijiana. For Scotland, if they get themselves to win here, they secure their spot going through to the quarterfinals. This is the way that the group sat at the start of the round. The Canadians were in first, and with a big win over Wales just recently, they moved that little bit further into first place. For the Scottish, they got themselves the big bonus point win in round number one up against Wales. That was considered not so much an upset, but I think it was the margin between those two sides that was considered a little bit more than was expected. But for Fiji, this could be a very tough game. And I will be honest, this might be a blowout. We've seen a few of them throughout this Women's World Cup as of this point, but I am hoping it's a little bit more oomph from this Fijiana side in this contest. They've had their warm-up game. They'll hopefully now be ready to go. We did just see the men's side not too long ago get themselves the win over Tonga, so perhaps that adds some motivation. Let's see what they can do. And this contest, but looking through at these starting lineups for these two sides, a very dangerous Scottish team. And to be honest, the way that they played in that first match up against the Welsh, there is no denying that they will be a very strong contender heading into those quarterfinals in that midfield combination. Wait a minute, that's England. 1 second, we'll click that button. There we go. I was going to say about Lisa Thompson in that number 12 jersey, but that did not look like Lisa. In the outside, it will be Emma Orr. They've got a very dangerous four-pack, a lot of physicality from the Scottish here. I just feel like that is the way that you have to try and beat Fiji, because we know that this Fijiana side will put in some huge hits, but it's whether or not the Scottish side can use that discipline and use that skill to try and get around them. We are hearing the Fijian national anthem at the moment. It is also raining quite heavily at the game, which is a bit of a concern. It will lead to probably quite a few handling errors. We've seen plenty throughout the weekend already, but overall a very strong Scottish side, like I mentioned, and I'm looking forward to covering this game, mainly because I don't think we've had a Scottish game on the channel when it comes to the women's side. I know we've covered a lot of the men's game, but I'm not sure whether or not the Scottish women have had that contest. In terms of this Fijian starting lineup, they've got plenty of pace across that back line. Nkothi out on the right wing, one to definitely keep an eye on. Kaneta as the number 10, alongside Railumu as that number 9 option. But this Fijiana side, they're going to play with passion. They're going to be right in the fight. But the question is, for how long? Will Scotland be able to do what they did up against the Welsh here to this slightly more inexperienced Fijiana side? We've got to remember already Scotland have taken part in that Women's Six Nations competition. They will be wanting to really get through to the quarterfinals. There are some sides in that Six Nations they would love to face in this Women's Rugby World Cup. But those are the national anthems that have just been sung. If Fiji wins, does Wales still have a chance? Says Novmum. If Fiji did win, Wales would still technically have a chance, but they would have to go out there and have an absolute field day up against the Fijiana side. Like, we're talking, I don't even know how many points it would be, to be honest. You'd assume that if Fiji were going to win this game, it would be a thin margin, right? So, looking at the way that it sits in terms of the Women's World Cup, I'll quickly get the tables up. So, Wales at the moment have a points differential of minus 72. So, that would be pretty brutal. They'd have to win their next game, I think, by probably about 100 points. Although, to be fair, Scotland are playing Canada, so maybe about 50 points. But that's still a very tough ask up against this women's Welsh team. We'll see how it goes. Of course, anything can happen in a World Cup, and we have seen a lot of one-sided affairs. So perhaps if Fiji or Scotland do get themselves a big win here, it can change the implications of the group. But overall, I think that we've almost got our top 8, to be honest, with the exception of South Africa and Italy. Those are the two teams at the moment, and maybe you could argue USA and Australia. But outside of that, it seems like most of the quarterfinals are kind of riding themselves at this point in time. Maybe Pool C as well could have a couple curveballs thrown in there. We have got there. I see no Curry Cup for today, or for you today. Hopefully Curry Cup next weekend, says Morning. We might be doing a bit of chopping and changing, though, depending on what happens. I was considering doing that Sharks versus Borderland game, and I actually have everything set up for it just in case we were going to be popping over for it. But there's just so many overlaps throughout this weekend. This is where I wish I could duplicate myself, because we've just had too many little overlaps. You know, that game we are going to be keeping an eye on. I do see at the moment the Lions are doing extremely well in their game up against the Bulls. But I do think Canada will top their pool. I agree. I think that Canada have done enough throughout those first 2 games. They've got a points differential of 100 as well. So, yeah, it is massive. We have got their howdy. Seems like the draw wasn't particularly well thought out. Need a big game each weekend, says Suds Razy. It does seem like a lot of the big matches are taking place in the last week in terms of those ones that will determine top of the tables. This week, I would say, I know that it's probably not the biggest game in terms of if you were looking at who are the favourites for the Women's World Cup, that was actually quite bad. Sky had an ad. We're already 20 seconds into the game because they forgot to put the coverage on. But Fijiana have got themselves the position now, and we are underway for this Women's World Cup fixture. But, yeah, I would say this round, the match to watch out for, or at least the 2 games for myself, one of them is USA-Australia, just to see where they are going to be sitting at. And then the other game, I think that it's actually the most important of this whole round, is South Africa versus Italy. Because we know France is going through. That is a guarantee in that group. But who's going through as the second place is a bit more of a question. Early penalty going the way of the Fijians. That is for not rolling away against Scotland in the breakdown. What's the latest score between the Lions and the Bulls? Last I saw, it was 20 points to 5 in favour of the Lions, and that seems like it's still the way that it sits. So there's still plenty of time left in that contest as well, of course. But now it's going to be kicked towards the sideline and up and under. Trying to claim that one. Big knock-on coming from Fiji. So it's now give the possession into the hands of Scotland. And this is where they were dangerous in their game up against Wales on the counter-attack, trying to find the space. Little kick in behind. Tempted there from Emma Orr. This is going to be a foot race, and it looks like it's going to be one that will be won by Scotland. I don't think there was a knock-on there, and that will be try number 1 in this contest. Francesca, I should say, McGee. She has already scored 2 minutes into this game. This one could be one-sided. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a chance. I have 19 chapters to do. One chapter takes me 3 days to complete. I have exams in 24 days, and I'm here watching football. I haven't given up on the semester. Says Cats now, so it does sound like you really need that motivation back. I could read you a motivational quote, but I don't know if that would do any good. Southern Hemisphere Women's Rugby needs South Africa to be more competitive, says Studs Race. What's the latest score between the Lions? I know I read that one, didn't I? But yeah, currently halftime, 20 points to 5 in favour of the Lions there. I'm going to the Ramphilly match tomorrow, says Novmum. Well, there you go. Hopefully Waikato can do well, or else it will be one of the shorter reigns that we have seen around the Ramphilly Shield world. Although, to be fair, a couple of years ago, we saw it chopping and changing every single week. That kick is missed away to the side, and that is now going to make the score 5-0 in favour of Scotland. We have got there, in my opinion, women's rugby moves at a faster pace. I would agree to a certain extent. I feel like there's more space. And I mean that in a good way too. I feel like it just seems like there are those little gaps. And it could just come down to the stature. You know, there's not too many 6'8" locks roaming around in the women's game. But that actually, you know, it adds that little bit more agility to the game. It's fast-paced. It's hectic. Do you know Springboks have a chance against the Italian women? Or do you think, I assume that's actually an injury already for one of the Fijian players. I believe she's been taken off the field right from the get-go, but kicked downfield now. Oh, a little bit of a slip there. This is a very wet game compared to some of the matches that we have seen, but Fiji going to look to use this one to the right-hand side. Another nice step coming in. Trying to get the spin going too. Damn, I missed a try already, says Big Ricky. It came very quickly. But that is going to be the penalty now going the way of Fiji. Another one going against the Scottish in the breakdown. They've had 2 now, quick succession for not releasing or not rolling away. And we have got there Prinhawinda Hamish. Absolutely. That was probably terribly pronounced. I think I am. She's Yanlu. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. That one's going out on the full. Actually, that's good. That was off the penalty. What was the height points? Or the highest points put up? Was it Brazil versus South Africa? So I think highest points from round 1 was actually Australia over Samoa. With 73-0. But the closest game we've had of the Women's World Cup so far was 24-0. Yes, South Africa versus Italy is an interesting game. Might lack experience though. Says Studs Race. Yeah, although I do think that one is the match that says this is who's going through. Whoever wins that game should be able, like, yes, South Africa will have to face France, and that will be tough. But the fact that they've already got themselves the win over the Brazilians does help drastically. This is a nice run forward from Tuake, going short side for the Fijians. They've actually had quite a bit of the possession throughout the first 5 minutes, although the ill discipline from Scotland may have been causing it. That wasn't too bad, mate. It's good afternoon in Welsh. C.A.S. Blesham. Well, there you go. I wouldn't be able to spell it again if you said it back to me, I will be honest. Should I stay up to watch England decimate Samoa? That's a good question. Like, we all know that one's going to be one-sided, and that's why I was slightly tempted to change that live stream to go to the Sharks versus Boland, just so that it's not as rough on Samoa. You know, it is going to be a tough game. You look distracted. Do the Springboks women have a chance against... You look distracted. I assume that's because I'm watching a game of rugby and trying to commentate it. We have got there, do the Springboks women have chance against the Italian women? I think so, but it all comes down to how they play. If they play like they did up against Brazil, I would say yes. But if they don't, and they don't really show up, and maybe they had their big game, then I think it's tough. Why was there like a 1 week break? I've forgotten there was a World Cup going on. There wasn't. It happened last weekend, and now it's this weekend. It's just that they don't play midweek, I assume is the confusion there. But yeah, the first round of the Women's World Cup took place just last weekend. Last game that we did was on Monday. Now, going with the back line here, Thompson linking up nicely. Scotland moving forward up to the 22-metre line. I do think for Fiji, they need to score pretty much every opportunity that they get in a decent position on the park. Hi, Amish and everyone, says Lilia B. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. If you are excited for all the rugby today, we are chopping and changing about that next live stream. We might be doing Boland versus the Sharks, just to be a bit nicer to the Manu Sena game. Oh, looks like another injury here for the Fijians. That is not good. That would be the second nice attack and run forward from Evie Gallagher. Oh, no, too close to the player who was injured, who was trying to retreat, but they are going to have to stop. Halftime score, Lions 20-5, says Bruce. And USA England, I was on Friday for some reason, says Big Rig. I think it was just because it was the opening contest, so they decided to have a standalone day for it. But we got any other games that are on a Friday, I wonder? I'll just have a quick look. I see it's just Saturday, 11 p.m. is the earliest that we've got coming up in terms of the next round. Oh, did I mention? I got to go into the Waikato changing room. You did not. You mentioned you touched the shield. So what were you touching in the changing room? That's going to be a bit of a high shot there against Lamani. It's already made her way onto the field. I thought the Welsh ladies did okay to keep Canada below 50. C.S. Flesham. Yeah, that's the thing. It once again comes down to how tricky it is with the difference in team levels at the moment in this Women's World Cup. I think by the time we get to the semi-finals, you'll see the top sides really in it. But up until then, it is going to be a tough one. And here you are. You're not doing the Bulls Curry Cup game, says Robert. No, it did seem like it would be the Lions' day. And to be honest, it just seemed like the Bulls weren't quite getting the job done throughout their last couple of games. So I thought maybe if I didn't do a game for them, it would possibly help them out a little bit. But now, sitting only 5 metres out from the line, Emma Wazzle. And there's already another advantage in favour of the Scottish. Big collision there. Tack and run from Clark. We were told not to touch anything. We went to the captain's run. Got to have... they have cameras right up the top. Oh, cross kick. McGee, it's gone through her hands. Unlike that first one, which she did end up scoring 20-5. The Bulls at halftime score, says Bruce. How good would it be if Scotland managed to beat Canada next weekend? It would be pretty massive for the Scots, and it would actually give them potentially the top qualifying spot. In terms of the tables, I think there's a few tiebreakers. The Scotland team seems like they have a very solid team ethos. CSJ, well, they seem ready, don't they, for this Women's World Cup. It's as if, that Women's Six Nations, Scotland had a few solid games in there, but their determination seems to all be right here. And that can be a very dangerous thing. Now, depending on who they play in the quarterfinal, TMO check here. What are they going to be finding out here? Okay, dangerous contact by White. The last thing that Fijiana need is any players going to the bin here. And it does seem like maybe someone's going to be making their way from the field. Take it from an Englishman, the Scots are always up for a fight. So here's Big Rig. And also the Canadian Union has pumped all its money into the women's and has all but given up on the men's. As we saw earlier, says Fleshin. Oh, okay, that wasn't the worst collision we've ever seen. It was Clark who did get hit. It was a tackle from Maturangu. I honestly don't see much in that. Yes, there's a bit of head contact, but her head is down. And I think it's just a big collision. Like, I honestly don't see this as more than, if they do give it as a penalty, I'd be like, okay. But any more than that, I think, oh, this clearly meets the yellow card threshold and it's going to be sent to the bunker for review. I don't think she did too much wrong in that tackle attempt. In fact, I think she'd be pretty unlucky, but she is going to have to go to the bin here. It is foul play, because she's in an upright position, but there was... This can't be a red card, can it? Surely. But Fijiana, they're going to be down to now having only the 14 women on the field. They've already also had 2 injuries, just to add... Okay, the Scotland captain is now going over to the referee saying, are they now under caution? And the referee said, well, they've got a yellow card. So they are. And hope Scotland win this one. That's not Heritage, not Fiji, or anything else like that. Says Bruce, and we have got there then Japan took the gloves off and pummeled them in the second half. Yeah, they really came alive in that second 40 minutes, the Japanese. Whatever Eddie Jones said at halftime obviously did work because they seem more fired up than they had been in that whole first half. But it's going to be a lady in the bin. We have got there who are the top players in each team. I'm clueless with regards to these teams. See, I'm not the sharpest tack when it comes to these sides either. I would say for Scotland, from what I've seen, Evie Gallagher has been one to keep an eye out for. It might even be Eve rather than Evie, to be honest. I do think that Francesca, sorry, I messed up her name last time too. McGee out on the left wing does seem like a little bit of a speedster and a dangerous option out on the wing for them. You've got that Lisa Thompson, bit more experience in the midfield too. For the Fijiana side, I would say that Nkothi, if she can get the ball, she's out on the right wing for this game, but they might struggle to feed her possession, definitely while they are down a player in this contest. Fiji just going with the 7 in the scrum, so this is going to be a tricky one. And like they've said, it will be a huge test for this Fijian pack, but it is going to be, I believe, Brebna Holden feed this ball in. Currently the 9 minutes remaining of that yellow card. Big push going off the back. Gallagher goes short side. Beautiful drawing pass there for the Scottish, and it will be the try out wide. And just like that, Scotland now have themselves another one. Don't be stingy, give all the Fijians red cards. See, here's Bruce there. And we'll go like that. Hopefully scoreboard. There we go. And too easy for Scotland there, says Big Rig. Yeah, just the draw and pass. One down. Looks like a little bit of breeze out there as well by the looks of the ponytail of that player. But Evie Gallagher with the draw and pass off the back of the scrum. Then Nelson. And then the pass to Lloyd. He got to just run it in. So that is now a try on either wing here for Scotland. One on the left and one on the right. Fiji, this is going to be really sapping of the gas tank too when playing with one less. The rain's not really making it the nicest conditions. Windy, which we did see for the first kick attempt. This one will not be much easier. I believe the breeze will be blowing into her for this kick. And just hits the post. In fact, I think the wind was behind that one. Had a bit of extra juice on it. The score now sits 10 points to 0. Will we see another donut? I hope not. I think we've seen enough, as you call them, donuts in this Women's World Cup. We saw Wales get one. We saw Italy get one. We saw Samoa get one. Those are the 3 that we've had so far, but hopefully that's all that we do see throughout this Women's World Cup, but it possibly won't be. I do think that England-Samoa, that next game around the corner, could be a pretty brutal one in that regard. Now, Fiji with the ball at the back, charging for, kicks it high. Decent amount of height on that one. Well watched by Scotland. Now chipping behind. Playing a little bit of ping pong at the moment with the kicking now. Nkothi going to be dragged down 45 metres out. Scotland, they've already given away a couple penalties in the breakdown, so that is kind of what Fiji have to work with, try and gain their territory in that regard. I'm tackled again if the Springboks women went through to the quarters, who will they play against, says Mornay. I actually can't tell you yet. So, 1 second, we'll get that up. So, South Africa are a part of Pool D. So, more than likely they would go through as the second in Pool D, which means they would face the first in Pool C, which means that they would face New Zealand in their quarterfinal. That's quite brutal, actually. That's not very nice for South Africa. The thing is, if they made it through to that quarter, I was hoping that they not so much would have an easier game, but just someone who's not the defending champ of this competition would have been quite nice for the South Africans, definitely because they would have thoroughly earned their spot. So Italy or South Africa, they will play New Zealand more than likely. Unless there's some sort of massive upset and New Zealand lose a game, that's tough. That's very tough. I feel like there are probably 3 teams in the quarterfinals you would not want to face. New Zealand, England, Canada. And unfortunately, South Africa would draw that slightly short straw. Now, to be fair, there would have only been one other team that they could have ended up facing outside of that, and I believe that would be, who's in the other group that will finish top? Canada in one, New Zealand in another, France, I guess, would have been the other team theoretically, but they actually can't face them because they're in the same pool. So no matter what, oh no. Okay, it's going to remain a yellow card. The way they were describing that, saying that there was high danger. There was not high danger. Her head was like this high off the ground, and she was ducking. The Fijiana player was ducking as well. If that had been any more than a yellow, that would have been quite unfortunate. New Zealand versus Ireland will likely determine who plays top of the pool. Says Novmum there. And no conversions yet. Same kicking coach as Lebok. Says Bruce. And if the Springbok woman went through, oh no, I read that one, didn't I? The Fiji backs are already huffing and puffing 10 minutes in. It's a tough tempo. Like, Scotland have just tried to drown them off the get-go. And there's already enough water around at the ground that it's making it a little bit easier for them. But, yeah, it is going to be really tough on the lungs. Definitely playing with 14 at the moment. New Zealand is the better choice of the 3, to be fair. Says Fleshin. I do think that New Zealand would be, on paper, the better game as well, just because of the fact that it would mean that we get to see New Zealand versus South Africa in the Rugby Championship the same week as we see New Zealand versus South Africa in the women's quarterfinals of the World Cup. So I would well and truly take it. That's going to be the penalty going the way of Scotland. Great work in the breakdown from Evie Gallagher. Ends up getting that steal for not releasing, but 13 minutes in, still the 10-0 for Scotland. They will be chasing nothing less than a bonus point from this matchup, as you would expect. It all comes down to who wins those big playoff games. Scotland, they have a tough one next week up against the Canadians. That will determine a lot in terms of where these sides are going to be finishing. But imagine the plot twist if Scotland could somehow beat Canada next week. You know, or what else could we... Well, that's the thing. New Zealand would have to get beaten by Ireland next weekend badly if they do want to lose that first place position. Although, to be fair, if both of the sides do win both games heading into that game, you know, that's South Africa's best bet. They're either facing the Irish or the New Zealanders, more than likely, or perhaps even Spain, if they can cause some sort of upset. We have there, I think, despite being defending champs, Red Roses in Canada are stronger than New Zealand right now. Says Big Rig. They do seem like, England seem like a well-oiled machine. And I do think that everyone expects England to do extremely well in this competition, and rightfully so, because they are, at the end of the day, they are the world number ones. But, you know, that doubt will always be in the mind. They won't beat Canada. They shouldn't. But you just... I know I'm too optimistic and I want to see an upset somewhere along this World Cup. Like, every single favourite at the moment has won by a big margin. The closest game has been 24 points. This game may be a lot more one-sided. Fiji with the ball in hand, though, around the halfway line. They have not given up as of yet. They know they're up against it. Scotland, 2 ladies in the breakdown trying to get in there. That was Bonar. How can you say that without it sounding bad? Bonner. Might be Bonner. Now, ball stolen in the breakdown by Clark. Now, 45 metres from the try line, off to the left-hand side again here. Nice work. It is Bonner. Now, good run down the wing from McGee, but boy, was she lined up early by Kamati, and she has stayed down. That definitely rocked the solar plexus. I love it if Spain and Brazil actually won tomorrow. Says Big Rig. See, I feel like Spain and Brazil's best chances of winning are against each other. But they won't get to face each other, sadly, in this Women's World Cup. If they had like those games outside of the quarterfinals, then maybe. But yeah, there's just going to be some one-sided affairs coming, Hamish. No chance you know it. Says Fleshin. The thing is, though, like, there should be no chance, right? But there have been upsets before. Right, there's a bit of a conversation going on here with the referee and the Scottish pack. Okay, I think they just called that as a rugby incident, that one. So there is going to be time off for a little while they try and get the player potentially stretchered off the field. So hopefully she is going to be all right. Oh, well, back to the kitchen. Busy making way. A proper superfood. Had to put that in brackets, of course. Cheese and yogurt. Then I got to clean the swimming pool as summer is nearly here. Until later. Says Bruce, so we will see you later on. I do think we are actually going to be doing Sharks versus Boland as the match around the corner. I've been chopping and changing in my head about whether or not we are doing that game or England versus Samoa. But I think for the sake of not, watching Samoa get 100 points put on them, I should go do the Curry Cup game instead. So we got that probably getting scheduled in the very near future. Get off that fence, says Vision. It's a very hard fence to get off. The fence is like a mile wide, But now penalty on the way of the Fijians. A little mistake there, coming this time from Malcolm. The thing is, Scotland haven't been completely clean in this game in terms of, discipline. They have given away 3 or 4 penalties already up till this stage. Currently sitting 16 minutes in Fiji. Still have got the 14 players on the field. They are just waiting for their eventual return. Yeah, it's nicely taken. And then that rolling ball was moving quickly for the Fijiana side. Perhaps they will go to it again here. Surprise, hot afternoon in Cape Town, enjoying the sun. Says Ruth there. And Ruth says Lilia B with a flower there too. Nicely taken above their head for Fiji. Halfway line now. I do think that for the Fijians, if they are able to get themselves a try in this contest, it would be absolutely massive for them. They did have a tough first game up against the Canadians. And just to be able to score on a World Cup stage would be absolutely incredible. To Wake, it's the ball up this time. And Roof High, I'm in PE, says Johan. And that's another penalty for not rolling away against Scotland. This time it is McLaughlin. That loose forward trio have given away probably about, I'd say, 3 or 4 penalties at this point in time. We have got their My Wild Fence is hard to dismount, says Fleshin. And also we have got the hello Lilia, says Roof. And who's going to win, Hamish? Who's the try scorer? So far we have seen 1 try on either wing. One coming from Lloyd and one coming from McGee. But Scotland are expected to win this game by quite a substantial kind of margin heading into this game. And that seems like what we're going to get. We have got their Lions 25, Bulls 5, WDF, says Yuri there. Yeah, the Bulls just haven't had it this Curry Cup season, which is really strange. I do think that Boland versus Sharks game should be better, though. Like I mentioned, we are actually changing our mind about what we're going to be doing around the corner in terms of that match or Samoa versus England. Going off to the left-hand side again, shoveling it on. Very nicely taken by Ditavutu. Now in the middle of the field, Fiji slowly making meters. This is also using up plenty of this yellow card time. Only another 20 seconds remaining. Amaturungu before she makes her way back out onto the field. Little grubber in behind the Scotland ready for it. Well covered at the back. Getting driven sideways was McGee. Back across to the right again. Little sell of the dummy onto the ball. No clear release there for the Fijiana. Number 5. Now Thompson chipping behind from the veteran. Nicely taken at the back. This game probably... I'm trying to think of how many games had rain in round number 1. I'd say that this is probably close to the worst conditions we've had for a game in this Women's World Cup, or at least for this round it probably will be anyway. It is slippery underfoot, gone back into the pocket, another kick downfield from Kaneta. Did end up hitting the line, so they will go back for it out on the full, just not quite getting that one correct. It sounds like number 18. Wait, number 18? Are they making a sub already here, Fiji, or is this down to just who is out there at the moment? I am sure it was the number 3 who did get herself penalised, though. Did you hear about banter between Scott Robertson and Rassie Erasmus? I actually haven't, to be honest. I assume that there would be a little bit of back and forth that will go in the next kind of couple weeks, just because at the end of the day, it is a massive test match, and both coaches, they'll feel like their side is the better one. But the reality is only one of them will be able to win that Eden Park Test match, unless, of course, there's a draw. Then both of them kind of get to share it in a nice friendly moment, I guess. Now, running down the wing, it will be the Scottish Lucy Prop looking for the offload and just ended up throwing it straight into the hands of Fijiana, who were under pressure since returning into the 15 on the field. A couple metres out, they have to try and get it back into the pocket. Or at least find some way of clearing this ball. Scotland have about 7 forwards right next to the breakdown, ready to make those crunch tackles. Try and force that handling error. We've got their roof there, ZA. Says Fletcher now back into the pocket. Oh, that's gone straight up. And they'll go back now. There was a knock-on initially from Scotland as they went for that chance just out from the goal line. Okay, the commentator is just pretty much saying that Scotland need to sort that out a little bit. Maybe happened a bit too often for them. But, I mean, they are still, you're in that scenario. They're in control of this game. And I don't think that's going to change throughout this 80-minute period. I believe that they will be probably a bit more experimental in how they play for this matchup, just because, they can kind of afford to. It's all about finding what works heading into those big matches just around the corner. Of course, they will be playing up against the Canadians. That is going to be a tough game. One with a lot of physicality, as well as, well, that's the thing. I think there will be a bit of Canadian dominance in that game. Just a little bit. Well, maybe a bit, maybe a lot, depending on how they end up going. But now scrum just 5 metres out from their own line. Fijiana looking to get this one moving. We'll go like that, and we will go like that as well. There we go. Get the screen a little bit bigger for myself. Oh, and too much movement at scrum time. In fact, the front rows have just gone straight down. It will actually be a hard day for scrummaging with the slipperiness underfoot. We saw it early on when one of the Fiji players tried to run onto the ball. She ended up pretty much losing the feet right out from underneath there. But already 22 minutes through this matchup. It's one of those ones that will just keep on flying by. Just like this Women's World Cup. I feel like the fact that we're already in round 2, it's going to be over before we know it. Final taking place. I'll get you the exact date while we're at it. Still 25-5 in that game between the Bulls and the Lions. The final will be taking place on the 28th of September. So, only 28 days away. 4 weeks' time. Just a little bit later on. 4 weeks' time, 3 hours, 4 hours maybe. We'll know exactly who has won this Women's World Cup. But for now, we just get to speculate. But now, nice attack and run off the back of the scrum for Fiji. Once again, needing this clearance. They're 10 metres out for their own line, back into the pocket. And Kothi gives it a decent boot, and we'll go back for another penalty between Scott Robertson and Rassie. I wonder who's going to have the most sleepless nights. Honestly, I don't think either of them will have any sleepless nights. They both seem like they're, yes, there will be nerves, but at the same time, these two guys are professionals. They'll be used to the pressure. But, yeah, I do think that as soon as that match starts, hasn't found touch with it there, Fiji. So now attack and run forward from the try scorer, McGee. Going back across to the right-hand side. Finds Thompson in the midfield, who is smashed there in the shot from the defence. Now a little bit of a counter-ruck there. Ball is out. Oh, no, drop ball. Gone backwards, though. Here's the referee. And now chance here for the Fijian backline to start moving this one. Breaking through. Big opportunity here, moving up to 25 metres out. And then just knocked on in the last moment, or at least it looked like a backline movement. Lucy Prop with the big fend. Surely it's the try. Yes, it is. And it's Sinevutu who does score the try for Fijiana. They can't quite believe it. There is a celebration and a half going on in the stands and in the coaching box. But out of every player to end up with it in hands, it is Senevutu does end up scoring it. She looks like she doesn't know whether or not to cry or whether to just end up taking a massive break, because that was a barnstorming run try of the tournament. If you says Studs Race, let's go Fiji, says Lilia B. But the thing is as well, when you think about it, Fiji are now back in this game. 5 points to 10. I know we're in the early stages and maybe it will start to hit them a little bit later on, but great quick hands as well from Kaneta to see the space. She probably thought she had a winger on her outside, but the loose air prop does get over Senevutu. First try of the Fijiana Rugby World Cup. What happened to Scotland's defence? I think, honestly, Fiji were just that little bit too quick. It's a great kick as well, just short of going over. And she beat two Scottish defenders to get that down. Says Big Rig. Yeah, it was just that loose ball. Picked up beautifully. And then from there, just doing extremely well. Are New Zealand public nervous about next weekend match? Some are. I think that the thing is, though, with New Zealanders, on a majority of the bases, like, we are similar to South Africa. We get that reputation of being a bit laid back. So I do think that it's a bit the same here. You know, like, yes, those two sides are going to be playing, and it's a massive game, and the nerves might set in a little bit closer, but for now, I'm just excited. See the two sides play. It's the most anticipated test match of this year by far, and understandably so. The Eden Park test record on the line, 50 matches unbeaten for New Zealand, spanning back to 1994. Whereas South Africa, they are the defending champions. They want to make a massive statement at Eden Park and not just win that game, but also win the Rugby Championship. To be able to do that, one step closer if they get the win at Eden Park. Now it's going to be the line-out throw here for Scotland again. Nicely taken on the halfway line. Now, loopy pass out into the midfield. Thompson passes it again. They want to find it out to McGee because she has had some real ability out on that wing. She has been smashed, though, in the tackle by Vleti. Back across to the right. Nice little pop pass up from Martins. We know that there's always physicality when you get a Fiji inside out on the park. Nice step from Evie Gallagher coming Fiji. See his Blues Nate there. Now going back across to the right-hand side again. Little grubber attempted in behind. It's not going to be sitting too badly. Now Nakothi with the fin. That looked a little high. I know that there was one earlier on that was a yellow card against Fiji. That one rode up around the neck region. And we have got the fight back Scots. We'll have to dig deeper now, says Ruth. Yeah, and I feel like it's not a bad thing for them. You know, they wouldn't have expected to concede within this first half, but it will test them a little bit more. We know that they're going to have to be on their A game up against the Canadians. Are your father looking to next weekend's match? Nah, he couldn't actually care less, to be honest. Like, he's probably got, like, he's watched a lot of rugby union in his time, and the way that games are now officiated has completely put him off the game. You know, lifelong rugby fan, but nowadays, you know, he might watch a game on the weekend, maybe, but no, he's lost all interest in it. He just gets so sick of every little thing getting checked and, you know, every breakdown having problems in it. He likes the good old school days where if there was a guy in the ruck, rather than getting penalised, you just ruck him. Pretty much, you take the jersey off his back. We have got there, Wales watching right now, like, oh, come on. Says Big Rig. What's he's mad about the TMO? Not just the TMO, though, just the stop-start nature of the game now compared to, like I said, he's watched rugby for a long time, and nowadays it just doesn't interest him as much as it used to. Now, ball's going to be going in for Fiji, a scrum round the halfway line. Chance here to try and score again. I get what he means. Old school rugby was brutal and free-flowing. Yeah, and it's not even like, because some people go, oh, but, you know, it's just because of the high tackles and whatnot in the old school game that people like it. But it wasn't. It was just the fact that you could have a game of rugby where the referee was out there as a technicality rather than the main event. But nowadays, you know, you do get 20 penalties a game and everything's being checked. He's old school and he's not wrong, Hamish. What about your mother? Still interested in rugby? She is, but once again, she'll watch the All Blacks play. But, Super Rugby-wise, she was maybe watching one game around type of thing. So, yeah, I do think that they're very similar to a lot of New Zealanders now, how, they'll watch the international game, but sometimes, Mum prefers watching the Bunnings NBC over the international game for the sake of seeing it kind of flow. But now, it's going to be another chance here for the Scottish line-out. I should say it is Alice Martin to throw this one in. Rugby League taking over Rugby Unions. Sears Blues now. Yeah, a lot more people are turning to the Rugby League side of things. Now, they haven't quite yet. The refs were amateurs. Oh, you don't have to worry about social media, says Fleshin. Yeah, well, that's the thing. The big slip there. That was an ugly one. Trying to get that last little stutter step off the right boot. Now, Maturangu, she is back out there after her yellow card at 75 watching now. Started streaming 45 minutes ago. Here's Casper now breaking the line here for Fiji. Looking for the kick in behind. And it just won't quite. Oh, that's an ugly collision on the ground. And off the feet. And it is a cynical infringement from the Fijians. Let's go, ladies. The players used to make reffing easy because we punish players who lay on the ball. And I reckon you definitely didn't put your hands near the ball in the breakdown to your studs race. Yeah, if you did that in the old school days, you were going to get holes in your hands. Nowadays, any type of thing in the breakdown does get pulled up, which is good in a way because it does stop people from doing those cheap shots. So your friend George, looking forward to the next weekend's game. He'll probably watch it. I really heard, he hasn't said anything about that game to me. And normally when he's hyped up for a game, he will mention, hey, this should be an interesting one. And we've talked about it last week. But once again, with the bye week, that meant that, this week coming up is when people will start really kind of talking about it. Now, going to be the line-out throw. And good evening all, says Richard. Are we in round 2 already? We are. Believe it or not, it has been absolutely flying by for this Women's World Cup competition. Now, going to be kicked downfield from Scotland again, sitting 10 points to 5. What was that line out? Yeah, it wasn't the smoothest thing we've ever seen. Now, big shot on Vuti. Way to the left. Fiji are in this game still. Sitting 10 points to 5. I was expecting, to be honest, a little bit more of a one-sided game if you're covering women's ruggers, but I miss you at the Curry Cup. Says Robert, well, you will get your wish, Robert, because I have scheduled that Sharks versus Borland game. So that is going to be starting in about 40 minutes' time. We will have to cut off some of this live stream to be able to get it, but we will be giving updates from this game as well while we are doing that other match, just so that I don't get crucified by the Curry Cup viewers. We did do the Curry Cup yesterday, though, and no one really, or not many anyway, did show up for that one. It was more of the exclusive club live stream for the Griquas versus the Cheetahs. I'm watching this game and the Connacht versus Ulster game. Says Richard, Fiji, once again, have got themselves the ball. They've actually done very well in the breakdown so far throughout this game. And I don't think that's something that maybe Scotland weren't anticipating heading into this match. Now attack and run forward, though. Scotland with a big fend for Lisa. It was Emma Orr this time. 13 jersey. Boo, did I scare you? You absolutely did. I'm shaking in my boots. Going off to the right-hand side. Little inside pass here. And it will be a second try for the Scottish number 14 here. Lloyd gets her double. And Scotland now get themselves another one. We have got there. Who's your pick of the midfield ladies to score? See, I would say Lisa Thompson, but I think both these sides just love throwing it out to the wingers. The whole rugby world cannot wait for next weekend. Became the biggest match in world rugby. We happened in the Curry Cup yesterday. We did end up seeing the Griquas just do really well in their game up against the Cheetahs. They never really looked like losing that one. But that's the tricky part. There's been a lot of one-sided games in the Carling Curry Cup. So, when we get these overlaps, I go, right, I'll be all right to cover the World Cup for the women. But then also at the same time, we've had a lot of one-sided games in this competition as well. So it makes it difficult. This is probably one of the closer games we have seen in recent times. Final score, it was 40 points to 10 in favour of the Griquas. All right, we'll go like this. We'll go like that as well, but that is a crucial conversion that has gone over. 17 points to 5. And Scotland has better cardio. Yeah, I do think in the second half is when we're really going to see them start to speed up. And, you know, it is going to get harder for Fiji. There is no denying that. But the fact that they were able to score in this game, I think is already an absolutely massive one for them. I think Scotland will do better in the second half when Fiji is even more tuckered out. I was close to his pads place. Now kicked off, nicely taken by Scotland. Once again, Gallagher, one of the absolute keys in the Scottish side. We are seeing a lot of the loose forwards and a lot of the wingers. That seems to be the tactic, and up against the Canadians, that could work pretty decently. But now, Della Fluente, or Della... Who was that name that he just said? It wasn't Tita Vutu, was it? I was thinking of Geronimo Della Fluente, of course, an ex-Argentinian. We got there, True Hamish, says Blues Nate. The Canadian ladies destroyed the Welsh ladies earlier. That was weird, 15-5 again. Yeah, it's been a common one every once in a while. Fiji can score before halftime. We could see the same scoreline between what it was in the Canada versus Japan game. Could be a potential option there. Uh-oh. Number 15's getting called over. Oh, her mouth guard's gone off. So that is going to be Letiana Vitti, sorry. Will now have to make her way from the field. A bit of a head knock. We have got there the Carling Curry Cup. Sounds like a good end to a Saturday night out. Pint and a curry. Says Flesh in there. It's probably a fair shout, isn't it? Someone, who was it yesterday, talking about a dodgy 4 a.m. kebab? And righto, says Jason, welcome in. I predict Borderland Cavaliers will play Griquas in this year's Curry Cup final. What do you think, says Morna? I think there's a decent chance it could end up happening. Now, I will mention we have actually scheduled that next live stream between Borderland as well as the Sharks. So we'll be starting just 5 minutes before that match does get underway. But now, another chance here for Scotland to try and get some sort of movement going. Nailolo, she has made her way on as the mouthguard replacement. And me, I said you said nowhere serves food at 4 a.m. and sadly that is still true. I know a place that possibly would serve food at 7 a.m. though. Scott's up again. Says Roofs. I said dodgy 4 a.m. kebabs is a drunk UK tradition. Says Big Rick. And Bulls versus Lions score anyone? At the moment it is 25-5 in favour of the Lions. So a pretty one-sided affair in that contest, which is not what I think anyone was really anticipating for that game. Now, a little knock on from Fiji. Just getting it wrong. Was Ray Luma, I believe. And that number 9 jersey, I had 11 p.m. Deaf Noodles. My mouth was on fire. And Shane Welsh, ladies, there's Ruth in there too. Handling her is at the moment 4 from Scotland, 3 from Fiji, which honestly probably isn't too bad throughout the first 37 minutes for this Fijiana side. I'd be pretty happy overall with the fact that they haven't conceded too many tries. Like 3 is still a lot for a half, don't get me wrong, but in like comparison to some of the other games that we've seen, it's all right, you know. It is definitely not the worst scoreline. Let's go the Kiwi lads. I'm struggling to keep up with you, Hamish. Says Blues, Nate. Now going off to the right-hand side here for Scotland. 3 minutes remaining in the half. Little boot in behind. One's going to be curling nicely. 50-22 on the cards, and that is a fantastic kick from Scotland there. They will retain the ball for the line out. May well as well put off your intestines at the same time. You're pissing off your liver. Says Big Rick. I guess that's one way of looking at it. But now, going to be line-out chance for Scotland. This could be their bonus points secured heading into halftime. I just want to quickly check. Canada versus Wales. Halftime in that contest, the score was 28-0. So, you know, it makes it very difficult to know who's going to win between Wales and Fiji when you think about it, because you would think that Wales, due to their Women's Six Nations experience, would get the edge there. But Fiji's physicality might really help them out. Big attack and shot coming in on, would have been Lisa Thompson. She just pretty much had her legs chopped out from underneath her. Fish and chips Says Beds of Blaze fish and chips are good though. Eating good food when you're drunk at 1 to 5 a.m. is a waste. That one is going into touch. A mistake made by Scotland, and now Fiji will have the scrum just 15 metres from their try line. If you don't eat dodgy kebabs, don't ask questions about the meat. Says Big Rig. And Go Fiji, says Ray. Yeah, see, I feel like no matter what time of the day it is, a good fish and chips can go a long way. Normally you can only get it, like, depending on where you're from. Like, for us, we only have, like, an evening fish and chip shop, and then it closes at, like, 8:30. Now thrown in over the top. Stolen by Scotland, but a huge hit coming in on Ellis Martin. Across to the left-hand side again. 3 metres out. Scotland chasing the bonus point. Little pop-up to, I believe it would have been, was it? Maybe Wassel. Oh, quick game taken by Fiji. Nailolo moves up to 22 metres out. She's just fended off a Scottish player on her forehead. Set her down well and truly. But Fiji now looking for this counter-attack. And what a run from Fiji, says Big Rig Joe. Yeah, this side has not given up as of yet. Kesa. Now Sinifutu going across again. Another run from Nailolo. She seems like she should be in the starting side the way that she's come into this game with a hiss and a roar. Now off to the right. Another skip pass on the outside. Another one of the replacement players, Lamani. And that number 21 jersey, that's really good body position though from Scotland, and they will win the penalty. They survived the Fijian onslaught, and Scotland's slowing them down now. I wouldn't guarantee it. Did you see that run from Nailolo? She wanted, if anything, for the game to speed up that little bit more, but I do think that is going to be Fiji's own worst enemy in terms of trying to play this game at the pace that Scotland maybe are trying to match. And you think it's winning the World Cup so far? I mean, Canada have looked really good in their 2 games. I don't think that, like, of course, England after their game up against Samoa, they are going to have 2 massive wins. So it's a tricky one because, you know, you look at round number 1, Australia. If they get a big win over the USA, they wouldn't have conceded a point as of yet in this World Cup. But, yeah, I'd say Canada and England at the moment look like the 2 big contenders. Now, don't get me wrong. New Zealand had a good win, 54 points to 8 over Spain. But compared to how dominant those other 2 sides were, I would say that New Zealand probably sitting 3rd at the moment in terms of maybe form in this comp. You could even argue, oh, Fiji are going to kick this one out. They've decided that that is enough for this half. And now they are going to go into the halftime break. 17 points to 5 down. I don't think that's a bad scoreline whatsoever here for this Fijian team. Black Ferns are going to kick ass. I do think that they'll do well later on in the competition. They were a little bit rusty in that first game up against Spain. Also quite a few changes compared to what we would normally see in a Black Ferns lineup. Canada also look hungry as well as being good, says Big Rig. Yeah, they just seem determined. And I mentioned about it with certain sides in this World Cup, they just seem to want it more. And Scotland, to be fair, the way that they started this game, that seemed to be the reality here too. But from there, just a few mistakes and a couple early penalties in the breakdown just seemed to change that momentum. Fiji trying to make a bit of a statement here. Scotland just walking off the field, Fiji jogging. Don't know whether or not that's just to say, look, we still have plenty left in the tank, so feel fatigued. In a way, New Zealand, Ireland, South Africa, etc. don't. And Canada also just look hungry. And also lamb with cauliflower cheese sauce and roasties. Potato gravy, yes. Sounds all right, to be fair. Agree, Canada look like they have turned up to win, says Fleshin. And yeah, I think that, you know, that 2022 World Cup for the Canadians, they were 4th in the end, weren't they? They got beaten by France in the bronze final. I'll quickly look. Who did they play in the semi-final? I think they might have played England because New Zealand played France, didn't they? In that other semi. One moment. So Canada played USA in the quarters, won 32-11. Then from there, they did lose by 7 points to England in that semi-final, 26-19. New Zealand had that 1-point thriller up against the France. I feel France have dropped a bit. It's a hard one to judge, though, for the French, isn't it? Because their first game up against the Italians, like, I don't think we can take too much from it. And honestly, I don't think France will get any good until the quarterfinals. You know, we'll see them in their upcoming game up against South Africa, where they should be able to win that game relatively easily. But at the same time, they may try not to show too much of what they're planning. Quarterfinal-wise, for the French, because they are in, one moment, we'll go like that, because they are in Pool D, they will face the second place team in Pool C. So that will either be Ireland, Japan, or Spain. At this current point in time, New Zealand look likely to get that number one spot. And we have got there. Roof actually had, that is my first meal back home last Sunday. See, here's Fleshin. Well, there you go. Cauliflower cheese is an interesting one. The fact that it works even though it sounds weird. France is inconsistent though. See, here's Big Rig, true. So, you know, they will want to get that consistency by the quarterfinals. 30 points to 5. The Lions are dominating the Bulls. How many bad games in a row are we going to see from this Bulls side? They lost by 21 up against the Griquas. The week before, they did lose to Bolin by 8. The week before that, they lost by 34. They started really well. They beat the Sharks 64-0. Goes great with a roast try. Says Fleshin. So like the cauliflower cheese itself, or just like the cheese sauce with a roast? I imagine a cheese sauce wouldn't go too bad with like certain roasts, would it? Like a roast beef, like a steak and cheese pie in a way, except just no pie. And no real cheese, I guess. Or steak, because it's a roast beef. In the Six Nations, England versus France at Twickenham, went to the wire. England won 43 points to 42. 6 months later, mostly the same team in France. England won 40 points to 6. Yeah, it's a bit like Argentina in a way. I used to hate cauliflower, but since I've had it with cheese sauce, I love it now. It's Bad's ablaze, and cauliflower and cheese. So do you roast the cauliflower, or do you do the cauliflower in a pot and just have it with it? I feel like my roasting skills do need a lot of work. As we learnt from that debate video, I don't have any sorts of roasts up my sleeve. But second half of this contest, not a mile away. We will show you guys the benches. That's not the right one. There we go. Scotland. In this one, we have already seen a couple changes made for the Fijians, so you would think Scotland would be fresher as this match goes on. We've seen Nailolo. She had a real impact with the way that she ran that ball near the end of the half. We saw Lamani having a couple good touches too, but the talk of this Fijian side has to be interesting. I've actually just seen Fiji have made more meters throughout this game. They've missed less tackles, but of course they have made a lot less. They've had more carries. They've had half the line breaks. They're actually not completely out of this game in regards of the statistics. 2 own lineouts lost for Scotland there too. But yes, Sinivutu managing to score that try was an absolutely massive moment for the Fijian side. They're just saying there about the fact that Fiji have had a pretty fair share of the events that have happened throughout this matchup. Cauliflower has to be cooked so it is crispy but tender, says Novmum there. And no cheese, says Ray. And also we have got there only Ollie. Get your proud of collie, says Jason. And bake the cauliflower after a boil. And a cheese sauce works great with the roasties and the gravy. I might have to try this. I haven't had cauliflower in probably I would say 10 years. I've had broccoli, I had broccoli last week. But cauliflower, haven't really had it in quite some time. I have to try it. Because what else do people do with cauliflower? They also, there's a different kind of sauce you have with cauliflower, isn't there? Or maybe it's not as common, but it goes well on a stir fry, doesn't it? Cauliflower. We have got there broccoli, is delicious. Says Big Rig. And morning Amish, Scotland likely to come away with the win today. Fiji to cause disruption, open play. Says Doc, yeah, the Fijians have well and truly done massively in this game, you know. In terms of compared to where they were expected to finish in this contest. They have more than stepped up for this match. Save the cauliflower, it has feelings. So it's basically a cauliflower bake. Sounds like it, doesn't it? What games are you still doing, says Mohadeen. So due to the outroar, we are going to be doing the Sharks versus Bulland game just around the corner. So we will be starting that live stream actually about 25 minutes time. So we will miss the end of this match, but we will be doing the updates of this contest on the channel. You can make ears out of cauliflower, says Marcus. That is true. Although some of those do not look very tasty at all. cauliflower in white. Says Dalmain and roasty toasty, anything baked in oven, lasagna, macaroni and moussaka baked in the oven, lots of sauce, says Ruth. And also cauliflower goes okay in a curry, says Fleshin. You see, I haven't had cauliflower in a curry. Just showing that highlight of the try. There was such a massive celebration. White sauce or cheese sauce? What is white sauce? Out of curiosity, because it's not quite cheese sauce, is it? But it's a type of sauce that's very similar in terms of the texture on it. See, sometimes cauliflower with grated cheese is something that I used to dabble in my youth. This is like 10, 15 years ago. Rather than a cheese sauce, just literally grating cauliflower on it, letting it melt. I should do that again. No outroar from me, but I'm happy you're doing the Sharks game, thank you. Says Lilia B. Yeah, I do. It was always going to be tricky with the games, the fact that they were overlapping. I didn't know what to do. And as you guys know, I'm so indecisive. I have swapped, in terms of my mind, about 10 times throughout the last 24 hours. Like, the thing with that England game, though, is no matter what, England are winning by, let's say, 80 points. So we know what we're going to get there. And that game is the type that I can probably just replay. Why is the women's game is only played in the weekend and not through the weeks as well, says David. I think it's just down to the amount of games. Like, for the Men's World Cup, we did see a couple games on Saturday. In fact, no, the men's game was the same, wasn't it? Other than the Thursday and Friday night, but that is just because, of course, more groups or more teams taking part. Kind of. Not really, though. They just kind of spread them out a bit more, didn't they? Watching the England game, says Big Rick. Do you think Borderline win? They should. We have the I fully agree. Cooking show with Hamish would be so funny. Oh. Is it still on the channel? There is a video of me and George cooking steaks from a while ago on a different channel. What do I do to type this one in? One moment. It still exists. A video of me and George trying to cook a steak. It didn't go well. Well, actually, no, the steaks ended up all right. I need to rewatch it, says Bads of Blaze. And international games beat club games, in my opinion, unless it's your specific team, I guess. Yeah, it's one of those ones that, like, I do think for the quarters of the women's game, like, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's that whole factor of what could be a close game versus what's going to be an absolute blowout. And I feel like there is a way that we can do both, doing Curry Cup as well. So we are going to be doing the Borland game versus the Sharks. That is kicking off in around 25 minutes. So from this live stream, we'll be transferring over to that next one. You can get Rugby Itch on board to do updates. Says Flesham, probably not. He's messaged a while back, or actually not too long ago, saying about how busy he is. I could try, but I think that he's well and truly flat out for the weekends. Did you start a fight like Astral Spiff? I have no idea who that is. But no, we just ended up, we cooked steak and then ate about half of a cheesecake. George threw my brownie away, which was a bit of a traumatizing experience. It was very like dry and quite hard, just like the garlic bread that we cooked. But he just grabbed my brownie and threw it and smacked into his door. It was an eventful time. I mean, fire, not fight. No, the fire, we didn't end up starting one, which was good. Ideal Hamish, the chef, says Ruth. Yeah, the cooking skills have come a long way since that video, I do have to say. Cooking all sorts now. That second half, not a mile away from taking place. They have a lot of ads. And that was one thing that slightly annoyed me about the start of this game, was the fact that they actually cut into the game about 20 seconds in because they've kept the ads playing for a little bit longer. And getting student drunk in Manchester before term starts. CA's Fleshin. What about a cooking show with Tony and Mark? That would be hectic. I think so. I think that Mark would get very sick of me and Tony. In fact, he'd get extremely sick of us. More so Tony. I think that I can behave myself in a cooking environment if I need to. I'm just not, like, I get to where I need to get to. Like, the dish will be made, but anyone who watches it would probably feel very stressed because I will pretty much be just flying back and forth because I constantly forget the little things that then I end up doing. But he's twice accidentally started a fire when cooking. Says Big Rig. He's a chill Canadian streamer. Went from nobody to an audience of like 20 to over 1 million subscribers inside a year. Says Big Rig. So that is absolutely massive for him. What was his name? Astral Spiff. I haven't heard of him, but I'll put a little star next to it and see. What does he cook mainly? Hopefully could get some inspiration. What stadium is Borland playing? Says Mohadin. For the Borland game, it is going to be a home game for the Sharks in that matchup. But, yeah, it's intriguing. Very intriguing. Just because, like, the Sharks, they can't play worse than they have at times. Sorry, Lilia. I know that one is a bit of a brutal statement, but I think you'd agree as well that the Sharks have been up and down, unfortunately. But his name is David. Says Big Rig Joe. I can't see Mark cooking. I don't know. I feel like for some reason when I look at Mark, I think of him stirring a pot slowly. You know, like making some sort of broth or something like that. For some reason, that's just what comes to mind. I don't know why. Maybe it's the glasses, potentially. But yeah, something about him, I can just, you know, see a wooden spoon and him just going, just a quick little slurp and going, needs more of this. Boil cauliflower and broccoli, brown chopped onions, and then add flour. Then slowly add milk till thickness you like as white sauce. And add cheese. Colby is my go-to, and then add salt. It's basically a cheese sauce, but it's just white sauce, says Dalman. Right. Okay, we got the heartbreak there from Lily. I promise that is the only time that I will break your heart. It sounded like a pickup line. I don't know whether or not it was supposed to or not, but yeah, we won't say how bad the Sharks have been doing anymore, other than just then. We have there. Isn't that just ordinary cooking though? Pretty much, but like, I don't know. He seems like he'd be handy enough with a spatula. Take that as you will. We have there. My wife is from China. She wouldn't trust me in the kitchen. Says Flesh in there. Playing in Peter Maritzburg, not Durban. Says it was there from Tristan. Oh, okay. So a little bit of the home away from home. In that regard for Sharks. See, my app says that it's at Hollywood Bet Stadium, so I got set up there. I see Tony, after some drinks, putting vanilla instead of gravy stuff. Says Badzer. Sounds like the title of an autobiography. Sharks saving themselves for the URC. Yeah, they are. I think that, you know, the long-term plan for the Sharks is to try and win the URC. It just means that, sadly, we don't get to see quite the same. There's an attacking run again from Fiji at the start of the second half. Some beautiful offloading coming in. Scotland have got themselves in a bit of a pickle here in terms of the aggressiveness of this Fijian side. Fiji are trying to create something, says Big Rig. And also we have got there currently Lions 37 points to 5 over the Bulls. Says I Lollipop, have fun, says Ray. Now skip pass, it looks like there's another injury and back player. Might be a Scottish player, Fiji. Breaking the line, has to pass it wide, didn't she? She was looking at the goal line. Nailolo is trying to earn those starting minutes next week. Beautiful, says Big Rig. Yeah, they were so close. All she needed was the draw and pass on the right. Or in fact, it would have been on her left. But now getting that little bit closer. Nakesa. Scotland, 10 metres out from their line, are under all sorts of pressure and the ball is dropped by Fiji, but they'll go back for the penalty. They're still going though. And also what we're on with the Bulls injury, they clapped the Sharks and the Western Province, says Tristan. Yeah, honestly, I have no idea. Like, it just seems to be that, like, they haven't even changed their lineup that much from that 64-0 one. Well, this sounds like it might be a yellow card here for Scotland. If the name picks there, I can't do a Scottish accent. Okay, referee pretty much saying that she understands what Evie Gallagher's saying. She was saying about her foot getting grabbed. We need to keep a tally in this Women's Rugby World Cup. And who won the Currie Cup today? So in the end, the Lions are still playing up against the Bulls. They are winning 37 points to 5. So a pretty one-sided affair in that regard. But we are going to be doing that Boland versus the Sharks game that is happening just around the corner. Okay, so they've cleared it. It was a lower leg injury, but it isn't foul play. We're going to see the big chop there. Yeah. Her knee is not supposed to face that direction. It kind of got twisted and all sorts. Wouldn't have felt nice. But it will be a bit of a stoppage here just while they sort that knee out. Probably more than likely getting taken off the field. I don't see her continuing in this match. So while we are at it, we will quickly get that next scoreboard ready for that next live stream. Hopefully we're going to be able to do a seamless transition. I will be completely 100% honest. I thought that Fiji at this point, no offense to this Fijiana side, I thought they'd be behind by a lot more by now. And the fact that they aren't makes me feel like, imagine if they came back and got the win and we transfer over to that Curry Cup live stream. I would feel like such an idiot, or even more so than I normally do. We have there an AB. Would have gotten carded there and deserved it. Ref is full on. I'm not angry, just disappointed. Mum's body language right now says Big Rig. And never mind Lilia. Maybe today Sharks will get something. All right, the stretcher has been called for here. We have you taken Sharks pulse before the game, says Ruth, and trust me, it's horrible. We had that similar knee injury, says Pads, and unfortunately, there's just like nothing you can do about when you're falling that way. Like, it's just such an awkward one that it just sucks, you know. We do hear the clapping at the moment. She's on her feet. She said, no, I don't want a stretcher. I'm just going to get up, try and, well, she's not going to walk off, unfortunately, due to that injury, but she's going to try and give it a fair old crack and limp her way off. The crowd showing their appreciation. Anyone else get the feeling Fijian women's team going to be very competitive in 4 years? I will say yes, if they continue getting the funding. You know, if this Fijiana side is able to flourish and they get given the same opportunities as some of these other sides in the Women's World Cup, they will be strong. Because they've already got the physicality game, which, you know, Scotland are normally known for being quite a hard-hitting pack. But Fiji have put them on the back foot multiple times throughout this match. Funding in game, says Studs Rays, exactly right. If they can do that, it looks like, yeah, Fiji have actually opted for the scrum. That tells you how much physicality they want to bring in. Cockburn has made her way onto the field. That is for the Clark injury. As our biggest growers, CS Tristan, and yeah, they're the same boat. If they keep on giving the support, the Bruin seems like he's doing something very nice with them at the moment. But I'd love to see them beat Italy. That sounded impartial, but it would be great to see them make it to a quarterfinal, just in terms of getting a reward for the amount of hard work that they've been doing. Now Nakote running it forward, 5 metres out from the line for Fijiana. Scotland will have to be careful because they've already conceded multiple penalties. Nakesa was held up just short of the goal line. Come on, Fiji, get a try. Says Big Rig there. Now pick and go. 3 metres out. There was a chance there that Emma Orr thought about just lying on the ground, but then she had to get straight back up as she knew that she would be required for this defensive effort. But Fiji just so powerful with the way that they are running the ball here. They managed to win this game. It's not going to be easy in their next contest. They're over the line. If they got the try, Fiji, referee looking for a grounding. She was up and down. She says it's held up. That's how every provincial women's game as a thing now. Says I Lollipop. And come on, let's get it held up, says Big Rig. Yeah, that one, big moment. 44-5 the end score between Lions and the Bulls. So again, just nowhere near the scoreline that you would have been expecting. Oh, held up, says Nov Mum. Yeah, they might even check this one here. Fiji and captain Jade Coates goes over. Okay, they've just said pretty much there that it's clearly held up, but if it isn't clearly held up, then the TMO will get involved. And that's the type of one that Fiji really needed to score, and if they had, so Revi in the crowd, yeah, they did show him just before. The 7 superstar, that's close to the ground, but it is just held up. Brilliant defence from Scotland, but they are feeling the pressure here in this contest. They are fully up against it. We see there a couple finger troubles for Rachel Malcolm there. Just getting the fingers put back into position. And what time is the next broadcast? Next broadcast is in actually 10 minutes, believe it or not. So we are going to be going straight from this one. We are going to be keeping updated on what is happening in this game because I will go with the dual screen option on my my subscription service. So I will be able to watch both games at once, let you know what's happening, and take their freedom Fiji up. See, it would be now. Nakoti almost through, looks for the offload, does find it. And again, Fiji, they seem like the fresher team, although the ball has dropped, it's gone backwards, and will be play on now for Nailolo. Now back across to the left-hand side, 10 metres away from the try line. Scotland again having to defend. Are you doing Springboks Women's game tomorrow? We certainly are, yes. There will be an overlap with New Zealand versus Japan, but once again, we will be ending that first live stream to go on to the second. Now going through for Fiji. Thought about going to the left-hand side where Nakoti was waiting, but there weren't really too many other options out on that side. Nicely done by one of the Scottish players to get out of that breakdown. I think it was Rachel McLaughlin. And I mean, you say that bit of the fence is holding. Says big rig there. And take their freedom Fiji, an upset would be. Says a Shane. Now off to the left-hand side. Now breaking again, Kaneta. And it does seem like as soon as Fiji get within 10 metres, Scotland switch on to 100% in terms of their defence. When it's outside of that region, though, that seems to be where, another drop ball from Fiji. It's just the handling errors in the end that is hurting them, but Scotland have the opportunity to clear their lines here. Did you say Bulls are winning? I did not. They lost by 39 points in their game. Now Scotland looking to offload it around, getting in the breakdown for Fiji, and they will go back for the original scrum. Scott's putting up defence. So here's Ruth. No advantage there. Call from the referee. The turnover says Big Rig Joe. Yeah, 10 phases in a row. Fiji are making meters for fun here. They will be closing in on the 500 mark from this first 45 or so minutes. Nakoti, she has really brought some impact since getting more involved. Can't get through, says Ruth. And yeah, I'd say by now Fiji need a 1 or 2 extra tries. Great attack, great defense. Loving this, says Suds Race. Yeah, it's so unfortunate that both of these sides seem like they've still got plenty left in the tank and that this is going to be a great finish to the contest because I did already schedule that Curry Cup live stream. So my indecisiveness is going to backfire on me because in 8 minutes we are going over to that next one. Okay, there, keep going, Fiji, keep pushing, come on now. See how Blues, Nate. But now will be the scrum feed for the Scottish, showing there Lisa Thompson. Possibly hasn't had the ball as much as she would have liked. It's been mainly those loose forwards as well as the wingers. Keep going, Fiji. Curry Cup better deliver. It better. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to be quite disappointed. Lions at 44, says Mohadeen. And a good night all. Enjoy the rugby and watching this handsome man. Says Pads of Blaze. So we will see you later on. I'm sure at some point we are doing the Ramphilly Shield game. Do a vote, says Fleshin. Yeah, I've already scheduled that one with a start time in 5 minutes, so I probably should have done the vote at the start, although I do think the vote at the start would have been Curry Cup. So I've dug myself a hole, but we're going to be doing the co-commentary on it. We will be updating in terms of what is happening for this game as well as that next one. Great defence from the Scots. They've held off attack very well. See, this is where I need another person, don't I? Someone who can cover one game while I cover the other so that there aren't any sort of difficulties. Oh, yeah, good there. Can you finish off this one, then go to the Sharks game? I could, but I do think that would possibly annoy a lot of people on the Curry Cup one. I go on Fiji. Are you getting those, says Sashi? Jeez, I can't read much of that. I think this final score was 44 points to 5. But yeah, if Scotland score again in the near future, they probably put the seal on this game. But they'll be disappointed not to have the bonus point as of yet in this matchup as well. Now Scotland trying to get the seal on the breakdown. They're told to get out of it. Replacement loose head. In fact, we'll leave it alone for Ray Luma. And that ball is ripped away. Scotland, no penalty, goes the way of Fiji again. Scotland right on the verge of getting a yellow card here, surely with the amount of times that they have made their little mistakes. We have got their Fiji attack again, says Big Rig. That's what happened to the Bulls. No idea, to be honest. Just it's such a weird turnaround. The fact that they did so well in the first 2 rounds just to then go to pretty much rock bottom the next 4 games. That's where Fiji attacked more in the last 10 minutes than all of their first half. Exactly. Like, it seems like that halftime break, whatever happened, they are now just looking a lot better than we saw throughout the first part of the game. But now, Matarangu, she will make her way off the field. She was pretty strong in this game. Yes, she got the yellow card. Did hurt the Fijians a little bit, but overall she has just been doing extremely well. One-way traffic since halftime. Fiji looked real organised, different team. And when your ending said Mahadine, 5 minutes time was when the ending was planned. Once again, thought this game was going to be a lot more one-sided when we did end up scheduling that other Curry Cup game. Oh, it's not straight from Fiji, but Scotland haven't been able to get out of their own half. Hamish is hotter than a grill with sizzling steaks, says Ruth there. That is pretty hot. But you made me speechless, Ruth. I didn't know how to respond to that one. Normally I have something to say, but that one silenced me. It's going to be the scrum now for Scotland. Hamish, do you play cricket without a cup? Let your nuts do the talking, says Sashi. I do play cricket with a cup because I like not having, I was going to say purple testicles, but is there any nicer way of saying that? I just like not getting hit in the ball, so having a cup is the perfect way of avoiding that. Plus, a cricket ball's hard, you know. It does hurt, even when you're used to it. Updating on the England game, says Mohadeen, we will end up giving updates on that England versus Samoa game as well, so you could say she takes your breath away. Says Big Rig Joe. Technically, you could say that. And yep, fair call, says Sashi, but now big scrum from Fiji. Ball goes out the back for Gallagher. A big bump off there for Scotland. We'll want to go the full length for the field here and at least get some sort of attack and chance really going, but Fiji's defence, again, just looking different as well. This is getting close to being held up. Oh no, it's a tackle. And finally, Scotland get the ball back, says Big Rig, although no option but to kick this ball down the field. As they were trapped. Now Fiji round the halfway line, looking to run this ball back again. Little short pop pass up to Nailolo. Which getting called up to play for the Black Caps, says Doc. Nah, that looks like hard work though. You see how fast those guys are bowling at the moment? Now up to the 22-metre line. Scotland now trying to get the turnover, and the breakdown was Emerald. Pick and go from Fiji. Beautiful passing. They're going to score. They score it between the posts. They are back in this game. Beautiful, says Big Rig. I might have to check if there might be a forward pass at the end, is the only thing I'll say. Maybe. I think they'll just make sure that it went backwards to come a tie. But this wasn't supposed to happen at all. Let's go Fiji, says Lilia B. Cauliflower flour cheese is all good. Whatever it takes to get the veg down right, says Robert. It'll be a nice easy kick from straight out in front of the post. That's glorious. I should have gone to bed before this game started. Says Studs raised 4 passes. Scott, it did look pretty flat, to be honest, but it sounds like it has been all cleared. And the kick being lined up by the Fijians, and ball crunches there could hurt. Oh, it's charged down by Scotland, doing very nicely there for Rachel McLaughlin. However, there, this has been the best 10 minutes of the Women's World Cup so far. It has been. It's been absolutely phenomenal from Fiji. And the fact that they've just been dominant throughout this little period of time. But what we have to do, because I did schedule it, and now I'm slightly regretting it. So, like I said, hopefully that Curry Cup game is going to be good. But we will be transferring over to that next live stream. We will still be updating every single little moment that happens in this game alongside that Carling Curry Cup live stream as well. So it's going to be a bit of a confusing one for a start, but we are just going to transfer over to that next live stream, and we will give, of course, those updates on what is happening in this game along the process as well. So be sure to pop on over, straight over to that next one. We will see you all in a very, very brief moment. Scotland just about to have another attacking chance, but we will see you all very shortly.